This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We just concluded the JD Next Gen show down at York Hall. With me, promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, you've had a bit of stick over the last couple of years for some of these cards, these JD Next Gen cards, but that delivered tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, I think all of the JD cards have been delivering lately, to be honest with you. I think, you know, people give you stick for everything, but there's a purpose behind what we're doing here. Giving young fighters the chance to box deep on the cards, in front of these bear pit atmospheres, getting big exposure. And tonight was a brilliant night. I mean, I'm sweating my absolute bollocks off, to be honest with you, so sorry for that. But good fights, good experience. We've got to bring the new generation through. There are a lot of top fighters that are stepping away from the game, retiring. So these cards give people the opportunity to come through and step up to Saturday night events. And tonight was a brilliant night.
Let's start with Conor Benn. I spoke to him yesterday, and he seemed to say to me, people always talk about me like I've got split personality disorder. There's the old Conor Benn, who is perhaps a bit more reckless and aggressive, and the new Conor Benn, if you will, that's a bit more measured. He's been saying all week he wants to do a bit of both. It was quite whirlwind in there, but do you think we saw a bit more of the finished article tonight?
Yeah, I think probably 2 or 3 fights ago you would have seen him sort of unfold a little bit and get sloppy in his shape, and you know, he came out the other guy. I think a lot of people don't really rate Conor Benn. So like that guy watched Conor Benn and thought, do you know what, I don't rate him, I'm going to stick it on him and I'm going to put him under pressure. He did that well in the first round, but Conor adapted quite well. And in the second round I expected Conor to come out and actually move and box, but he said, no, I'm going to push you back now. And he absolutely battered him. I thought it was a brilliant performance, you know, and that guy has fought for European titles, lost in a split to Samuel Vargas. He's a decent fighter. And Conor for a long time has been, you know, a little bit of a gimmick in that he's Nigel Benn's son. I don't mind saying it. But now he's actually turning into a quality fighter, and it's really good to watch him grow because he works very hard. You know, he would be well within his rights to be a little bit of a flash Harry, you know, got a few quid, famous dad, boxer. He's not like that. You know, he really dedicates himself to the sport. He's living the life, and you're seeing the improvements.
Conor this week was perhaps a bit reluctant to talk about what was beyond. He was very focused on this fight. Now it's out the way. A couple of months ago, we heard him talking about wanting to fight Josh Kelly. I think everyone sort of dismissed that and thought Kelly was perhaps on the fast track to go well above and beyond. After his draw with Ray Robinson in America and after what we saw from Conor Benn tonight, how realistic is that fight for the next few months? Is that something you'd like to make?
I think it's really realistic. I think that, you know, it's not a fight for 2019 in my opinion, but either of these guys at the level they're at now are capable of losing. You know, Josh Kelly's mandatory for the European title. If Avanesian beats Laranja, that's the next fight for Josh Kelly. That's a really tough fight. You know, Conor's talking about fighting Samuel Vargas. That's a really tough fight for Conor Benn. So at what point do you take the risk, rather take the risk against each other than all these other people? So I just feel that's a really big domestic fight at some point in 2020. I don't want to super marinate it, but I do feel like, you know, Conor's learning. He's had all that experience. Josh Kelly in the amateurs. Josh Kelly, a brilliant fighter, you know, and there's big fights out there for both. But I do think if they keep going, could be on the cards.
Let's get through the rest of the card. Cheeseman Conway. Yeah. Earlier in the week, Kieran Conway told us he can't believe the odds. He doesn't even think this fight's a 50-50. He believes he should be the favourite. It was certainly a competitive fight tonight. Split draw. How did you see the fight? Do you have Cheeseman winning?
Yeah, I think everyone in here had Cheeseman winning 3 rounds, something like that. But you know, take nothing away from Conway. I thought he was fantastic. And after 6 rounds, I did have it all square. But, you know, I didn't really give him much, probably the 12th. And you know, I struggled to give him more than 4 rounds, I think, at a fight. But he was really good, really impressive. Never boxed that level before, never boxed over 12 rounds. And, you know, Ted was sloppy at times. He's got to improve because he can't fight like that against Scott Fitzgerald. Now, that'll be his next fight. It's a dangerous fight. It's a brilliant domestic fight. But he's got to improve. And you know, I thought Conway boxed really well.
As you mentioned there, Cheeseman will still be facing Scott Fitzgerald. Do we know when that's likely to be later in the year?
Scott had an injury, you know, he's supposed to fight Brian Rose and Fowler stepped in. So you're talking probably September, October time for that fight.
Okay, let's talk about Craig Richards, Andre Sterling. It's a fight that's been bubbling up nicely all week. Thoughts on the fight?
Great fight. I mean, a bit scrappy at times. How Sterling survived the 6th and beyond, I don't know. Showed plenty of heart. Again, same kind of margins. I think I had Craig winning by 3 or 4 rounds. And now moves on possibly to fight Joshua Buatsi. We'll see what Josh decides to do, if he wants to defend that British or move on to bigger world fights. But it was a good fight, good performance, and Craig's coming on nicely now.
Before we come on to the possibility of Craig fighting Buatsi, I just wanted to talk about what happened yesterday at the weigh-in. I'm sure you saw the little bit of heated debate, we'll call it, between Andre Steele and Josh Bharati. I'm sure you caught that on Boxing Social, Eddie. A lot of people were saying it was disrespectful when you're fighting Craig Richards tomorrow evening. Did you believe that to be the case, or do you think it was just a bit harmless fun?
I don't really know what happened. I like that side of Joshua Bharati. People don't really see that side a lot. He's a gentleman. And he's almost like a little choir boy sometimes. But, mate, he's got a big old bite on him. And he loves to have a tear-up. And he's got that great side that can just switch into a complete fucking animal, to be honest with you. And that is why he's going to go on and win world titles, because he has the temperament. You know, I know that when the game gets tough, he's going to be in there and he's going to be ready to go. So it's all good. Anything like that's good, and, you know, adds a little bit of spice to the promotion.
Now, Josh Bharati, I think many people expect him to be fast-tracked in the next year or so. That said, Craig Richards, now the mandatory challenger for his British title. Richards' team told me outside that they're not sure if that fight will happen, but do you believe that's a possibility?
Yeah, I do, definitely. I mean, if you know, obviously we represent both guys. They're quite pally, not friends, but it's a bit of a weird fight to make. But if the money's right and Craig Richards wants to fight, and Joshua Bharati, I know, will fight anyone, that's definitely a fight we could do in September or October. So we'll speak to both guys, or see if Josh wants to go and move on and try and start challenging and putting himself in the mix for a world title.
Just to finish on this card, Shannon Courtney. She got the stoppage win she's been after this evening. Her opponent came out, and I think Shannon had said in her first two fights her opponent had been quite negative and she was quite disappointed with the way they'd approached fights. Tonight we saw a young woman in there with her who came out and opened up, and we saw the results. Nice to see her progressing, and can we expect her to be fast-tracked?
No, still a novice, you know, and Adam Booth will move her at the right speed. I thought the opponent was a little bit poor. We had actually had a good opponent turned down by the board, and that opponent approved. It was all a bit weird. It's hard to match these women in fights because you don't really have any footage. So you're looking at a box rec, you're speaking to agents that you trust, and, you know, she was all right, but I just felt that now Shannon's got to just step up a little bit. You know, she hasn't got the amateur pedigree of a Katie Taylor and these people, but she was a solid amateur, and she's progressing well under Adam Booth.
Just before I let you go, there's a few things that I don't think we managed to get you on the other day when you spoke to Rob. First things first, Lomachenko Campbell. We thought we were close to some sort of an agreement, and then it looked like it might go to purse bids, and now it appears it's close again. What can you tell us about that fight?
It's close again, that's what I can tell you. August 31st at the O2 is still the date and the target for that fight. Still got a few things to tie up, but we're progressing more than we were the other day, so hopefully we can close that off this week.
Final word on all things WBC. Dillian Whyte, you told us you were close to a resolution as to what would happen with the Whyte Rivas winner, when they'd be able to face Deontay Wilder, etc. Can you give us any update on that? Is it likely to be interim title?
Yeah, I believe it will be interim title and a final eliminator for the mandatory position. It's just a case of boxing off when that will be. You know, it's 600 days this week since Dillian Whyte's been WBC #1, so we don't want to wait too much longer. But July 20 will be a very important fight for his career, because if he wins that fight, he will get a shot at the WBC world title.
Does it complicate things a bit? We've heard that Fury and Wilder will face each other once again. Wilder is apparently facing Ortiz beforehand. With those two fights booked in, and I know you'll be desperate to get Dillian Whyte that title shot as soon as possible, does that complicate things a bit with these fights booked in?
I don't believe Wilder will fight Ortiz. I think he'll fight Fury next. I think that's what they'll do. And I think the winner will have to fight Dillian Whyte. That's how I see it going. I don't think Wilder now will take the risk of Luis Ortiz, which is very bad on Luis Ortiz considering they made him turn down a Joshua fight. I think they'll go straight into that fight at the end of the year, and I think the winner will have to fight Dillian Whyte.
Callum Smith, he wants the big fights, we've heard that. He put on a great show against Hassan and Dam out in America, dropped him in every round, looked fantastic. Which fight do you think is most likely? There's talk of Canelo, Golovkin, Billy Joe Saunders. Any idea where he could be going next?
I think all of those fights are possible. Obviously, Canelo Triple G looks like it might hit a little bit of a snag, so that opens up the Canelo fight, but also opens up the Triple G fight as well. So, you know, Callum's ready. I just want to keep him active now. I want him to box in September, so I'm going to sit down with him next week and see which route we take.
Okay, Eddie Hearn, I won't keep you any longer unless there's anything you'd like to add.
No, thank you, Boxing Social. Where's Tebbert?
That's all I've heard all night, Eddie. I'm very disappointed.
He's done very well. Fuck Rob Tebbert anyway. He's getting too big for his boots.
Thanks, Eddie.